So the next thing we need to talk about is selecting the right technology. So technology has really changed the way accounting firms function. Using it allows us to automate our tasks, prevents errors, and increases our efficiency. And using a lot of cloud-based tools means that we have the flexibility to really kind of work from wherever we want. And it makes that remote work much easier and more efficient. So that frees us up for more high-valued activities like advising our clients. And I see some questions coming in, and I'm hoping to have time for a Q&A at the end, so I'll address some of these. So, I'm sorry. Okay, I missed my slide, or I thought I did. So 95% of accountants agree that a willingness to learn and adopt new technologies is just as important as traditional accounting skills. And I would say that I was surprised by this, but I also completely agree with it. We're utilizing technology so much in our businesses that that we really need to, have a willingness to continue to adopt them. And I was very shocked at the percentage, but it also feels very accurate to me. So consider the technology tools that you're going to need to run your business. So what type of tools you will need will depend on the type of services, of course, that you're offering. So there's an abundance of tools available. I've added some of the ones that I believe to be the most important areas with some examples. However, this is not in any way, shape, or form an exhaustive list, but we need to consider what GL we're going to use to service our clients. Workflow management will help us keep track of our client work as well as our internal tasks. We need document storage to help us store our sensitive client information. If we're offering bill pay services, then we would need to get set up with Bill because that helps us streamline and automate our processes with ease. And that's really what we want to be doing as we are growing our firms. How are we going to communicate internally with our team as well as our clients? I mean, of course, we don't have to worry about our team until we get to that point, but that's something that you'll have to think about down the road. So even before the client onboarding process, we also need to provide our clients with a proposal. So making sure that we're using a tool that's professional and makes it easy for them to accept the engagement is also really critical. What is the investment cost for that? I don't have the pricing. So there's a question, what is the investment cost for the listed software? I don't have all of the pricing for it, and it varies. One thing I will say is that g2.com, which I meant to put on this slide, is a great resource for vetting technology tools. So you can compare tools you're thinking of using. I would recommend trying free trials and doing product demos. My point, I guess, in providing this chart is really to kind of give you an overview of the 6 areas that I think you probably need to consider technology tools, and you may not need them all right away. Okay, I see Gwen asking, what do you use in your tech stack for budget planning? I actually use Google Sheets. So I haven't found a budget tool that I love, so I build it out in Google Sheets, and then I have a template. I would say also a great piece of advice here is to avoid shiny object syndrome. I have been guilty of this myself. For those that are technology nerds, this can be a really difficult one. I can tell you from experience, less is more. So be methodical in your choices, shy away from adding tools that you don't need. While they can be really helpful, learning new tools and teaching those tools to your team can be really costly if you don't choose wisely. I am seeing a question, what are you using for engagement letters, manually writing? I use Anchor. So I use Anchor for proposals, and I use it for my engagement letters. And that's also how I do my billing collections. So So now that we have our business plan and technology in place, let's talk about attracting our ideal clients. This is probably one of the scarier areas, right? Because we want to start our business, but we want to make sure that we have clients as we're starting our business. Let's see. Okay. So we need to determine our areas of interest and expertise and consider whether we will niche to help define our ideal client, whether we will niche to help define our ideal client. Excuse me. But before we can attract our ideal clients, we have to figure out who they are, right? So when you're just starting out, think about what you're interested in doing, go back to your why, think about where your expertise already lies, make the process of starting the business as easy as possible, and use the expertise that you have along with where your interests lie to help you kind of get going more easily. So if you're considering niching, this will help differentiate your business. Maybe you want to focus on small business owners, freelancers, real estate professionals. So that helps you narrow your target audience, and then you can tailor your services and your processes and your marketing efforts. And so that also can help you really stand out from the competition. Niching is not the be all and end all by any means. It's not for everyone. Some people like to have a lot more variety, and that's a value that they have and a motivation. So focus on areas that still, I guess what I would say is focus on areas where your expertise can really shine. That is the takeaway. So we want to build our brand and become an expert in our area as well. Once you've determined who your ideal client is, how do you attract them? Building your brand and becoming an expert in your area will really help you stand out. So I asked Katie Thomas, who is a CPA and the founder and owner of Leaders Online. So she is a digital marketing strategist and content creation expert, and she focuses on bookkeeping and accounting firms. And I asked her to share with us how she would recommend building your brand on social media. So let's take a look at what she has to say.
If I were a new accountant who was just starting my entrepreneurial journey and wanted to build my brand on social media and my identity, I would follow a 4-step process. And it works for all of our clients. It's one that I used when I was starting my journey as a new entrepreneur. And that's the first thing, is to choose one platform. Focus on one, and I'm going to give you the process of what to do on that platform. How do you pick which platform? Ask yourself, where are your ideal clients hanging out and which one plays to your strengths? So if you don't like posting photos or videos and your ideal clients are on Facebook and Instagram, pick Facebook because you don't have to. The second thing is you need to connect with your audience every single day, whether that is using something like Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, where you can filter and search for someone who's in a certain location with a certain title in a certain industry, whether that's in groups, whether that's using hashtags, whether that's going to influencers of the space that you want to basically dominate, want to be the leader expert in, see what other people are commenting and see who's engaging with those influencers. Whether you're looking at hashtags, there's a lot of ways to do it, but you need to connect with people every single day in your niche. So you chose a platform, you are connecting with your ideal client, and then you need to start conversations with them. Because imagine if you walked into a cocktail party and you just stood in the corner, what would happen? Probably nothing. So you actually need to go out, connect with your audience every single day and start conversations with them, whether that's asking how they got involved in the industry, a podcast that you listen to, ask them a question about that you heard them on. The final step is to create content. And I always say that content comes last because usually it's not going to go viral. It's not going to be enough to just put out content. The content's really there for the people that you're connecting and conversing with. And eventually algorithms will realize who this content is for and push it out to the right people, but not a lot of times at the beginning. So think about where your audience is right, thinks they're right, but they're actually wrong. Like deliver those deep insights that only you have. So content comes last. Make sure every single day that you've chosen your platform, you're connecting, you're conversing, and then you are posting. So that's exactly what I would do. And it works so well when people stay consistent with it.
So what I would note from what she said that really stands out to me is that we need to be connecting continually. And I would also say that connecting continually and establishing relationships both with clients or potential clients as well as peers and colleagues is, one of the most important ways to build up your client base. So there's a few different ways you can do this, right? If you're coming from the profession already, then you probably already have a lot of contacts. So reaching out to those contacts, letting them know that you're starting your business, letting them know where your area of expertise is. Attending conferences. There's really an endless number of conferences for accounting professionals that you can attend. Find professionals at these conferences that work with your ideal clients in other ways. So, for example, for myself, I offer bookkeeping and accounting services for nonprofits. And so my stream of clients, my biggest stream of clients actually comes from auditors who audit nonprofit books. And so I have created those relationships and, fostered them in order to help keep the funnel of clients coming in, so to speak. So, if you're offering bookkeeping services for a certain type of small business, then consider partnering maybe with a tax preparer that specializes in that area but doesn't offer bookkeeping services. So meet your clients where they are. Find other professionals that are working with your ideal clients and connect with them. You can join your local chamber, and then there are a number of organizations that professionals join. So whatever your area of specialization is, find those organizations. If you're working with real estate agents, join organizations where real estate agents will be, go to those events and, spend your time networking there. So the last area that we need to talk about is strategizing for growth. So we want to determine our plan for growth using realistic goals. And that really goes back to our long-term and short-term goals. Do you want to grow? Some people have no desire to actually have a team and to have a larger firm, and that's perfectly acceptable. And so making sure that you are setting goals that are attainable based on what you want for your firm in the future. So consider long-term, short-term goals. Again, what do you want your revenue numbers to be? Think about how that may translate to the number of clients and what size team you might need to service them. And then continue to go back to, I'm sure we've all heard of the SMART framework. So that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So define clear, specific goals. Make sure that they're achievable based on the time that you have and your capacity and the technology you're using. Align goals with your firm's long-term mission, and then make sure that you're setting a time frame that's realistic. So the last thing that I will say is that making a plan for challenges and setbacks is really important because most of them are pretty predictable and manageable if we do so in advance. So some challenges that we might face, right, would be it may take longer than expected to attract clients. Firms in an early stage may face some tight budgets or inconsistent income. For myself, this happened, growth that really outpaced my capacity and my resources. And then being prepared for any sort of like technology hiccups, implementing new systems that, may disrupt your workflows temporarily. And consider and be prepared with contingency strategies. So, if you're concerned about attracting clients and finances in the early stage, do your best to build up some sort of reserve. If you are concerned about technology hiccups, make sure that you have processes that allow for adjustments and you're changing potential volume needs. So I think that, we've covered a lot of areas. We've, talked a lot about the core values, our motivations. We've talked about what we need for a foundation and how we can attract our ideal clients, strategize for growth. And so I think I have a few minutes left now to answer some questions.
Yeah, let me pop in. I've got some questions I've seen coming through the chat.
Thank you.
Yolanda is wondering if all of your clients are nonprofits. She's also got experience in the nonprofit field, but is curious about how that works. She's so used to just being a direct hire.
Instead of being a direct hire,
Yeah. So like she wants to start her own business. She's wondering, have you filled your book of business with nonprofits, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I did. I still have a couple of lingering clients that are in other areas because I just love them so much. And as I mentioned earlier, I started out as a generalist. But the way that I did it is exactly kind of what I mentioned. I started networking with auditors that I knew didn't offer monthly services. And so I established that relationship. They saw that the work was really good. I made their lives a lot easier because the audits went very smoothly. And so that's where the majority of my stream comes from. But then also a lot of nonprofits, these business owners in general, they speak to each other. Nonprofits speak to each other. So asking your clients, the ones that you do have, saying, hey, I'm trying to add more clients. Would you recommend me if you have someone that's, looking for, a nonprofit accountant, for example?
Awesome.
Great question.
Love that. Somebody, Heather asked, how do you focus on training? You were talking about, you're bringing new people on. How are you able to focus on training without getting burnt out when it already takes like such a long time to find the right fit?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the way that I have done that is by setting up training resources. So I have, as I mentioned, I've been building out my processes. I wish I would have done that from the beginning. So I have some videos and training resources for new hires where they can watch videos and learn independently, and they can actually see how we service specific clients because we have the processes documented and we have the videos. And then I will also spend one-on-one time with them, as well as putting them through like a QuickBooks training, for example, like a QBO Pro Advisor certification. So kind of multifaceted so that I'm not spending 8 hours a day with them training, because I think I would fall over if I had to do that.
Seriously. Okay. I think we probably have time for maybe one or two more questions. Okay. Ruben asked, how, as you were starting out, you're building your business, how did you determine the pricing of your services?
Oh my gosh, this is still a struggle, to be honest. I think that that's a great question. And, for myself, everybody has a different philosophy. I do flat rate billing, and, I kind of look at a number of things. I look at what I would want to make at a minimum as an hourly rate. And then I'm looking at and making sure that myself and my team are bringing in enough money to cover that at a minimum. But I'm really also looking at the way that I do things is I break out pricing by transaction, how many reconciliations they need. Do they need accrual-based books, which is basically all of my clients? Do they need different types of services? So are they looking for budgeting? Are they looking for help with the audit every year? And so I really just looked at and broke down all of those different areas, considered the amount of time that it was taking. And I also connected with other colleagues in the same area. And it's amazing. I feel like we have this field of accountants and bookkeepers that are incredible at sharing information. So I asked people, I just asked people that were in my specific area, kind of, what are you doing? How are you building out your pricing? And generally people are happy to share. But that's not easy. It's not easy.
Seriously, seriously. I think we've hit time. So I'll give you, you can do a wrap up, and then Jasmine, if there's anything we need to cover at the end.
Yeah, I will just say, thank you for joining me. I hope that you have all found some great takeaways. I hope that you recognize that, finding your why, understanding your motivations is really important, and just keep coming back to that. If I had one takeaway for you today, I would say, make sure that you understand your motivations, your why, make sure that you're prepared for the entrepreneurial journey, and then keep coming back to those reasons, and everything will continue to fall into place.